Hey everybody, it's Tim Sackett. Welcome back to another episode of HR Famous, where I bring in HR friends to talk shop. It's usually Madeline and Jessica, but Jessica is way too busy over at Marriott, rhymes like chariot. So it's Madeline and I, and we brought in one of our friends, Kyle Lagunas. Kyle, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing so good, Timmy. How are you?
Kyle, you have to introduce. I mean, you're HR famous in your own right, but you have to introduce yourself. Tell people about a little bit about you.
Sure. So, Kyle Lagunas, I am a Cancer. I was born in Houston, Texas. I am,
Were
uh,
you born in Houston, but you
yeah,
lived in Indiana?
I sure was,
All
but I grew
right.
up in Indiana.
Yeah.
So yeah, real fun. So I have the extreme pleasure of working with Madeline. I have joined Aptitude Research recently as a principal analyst. And before that, I was running some transformation projects in talent acquisition at General Motors. Maybe you've heard of it, Tim. It's in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that, I did a stint as the head of strategy at Beamery, a recruiting CRM. And before that, I was an analyst. So I've got
Yeah.
the trifecta, you know,
I love you for a lot of reasons, but like the fact that you have
because I'm
experience on both
beautiful and
sides.
funny. And
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, it might be like I have this whole Anderson Cooper kind of fetish, but like otherwise, I love that you have like the experience on both sides of the desk of having real corporate talent acquisition experience, but also on the vendor side of having to try to sell this stuff. It's really difficult. So, Kyle, how we do this is we're talking shop. Madeline, by the way, hello. Got the boys back.
Hi.
Got the boys back to school. That's
They
exciting.
are back to school. I feel somewhat normal. And then we leave and we travel for HR Tech next week. So it's just
Yeah.
a weird month.
Yes, exactly. But you get your house back to yourself for a little bit, right?
Oh, yes. And loving every second of it. Kyle was here for the craziness. He came here to work with the boys home and they're like interrupting every second, getting snacks nonstop in the
Are you kidding
kitchen.
me? I was having so much fun. I was giving Max crap for his girlfriend. Max was eating so many snacks and sugar. I was like, Max, girls aren't going to go for a chubby guy. Like, you got to stay fit. He's like 9, and I'm giving him like
He's just like,
body.
what? You're body shaming me already at
Yeah.
9? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those guys. I love them.
No, yeah. So we were just getting off the Kyle and Tim tech support to get Madeline's mic work, and she actually texted us before that. She's like, it's 11 a.m. or it's before 11 a.m. and I'm already eating pizza. Like, here we go.
Yeah,
Welcome
it's
to
like
our life.
mom frat house over here.
Was it cold pizza? That's the question. Or did you
It was
actually warm
cold
it up?
pizza. It was left. I don't love leftover pizza, and I had to. There was no other option. It had to be done.
Hey, are you guys in on do you do the shipped like grocery shopping or do you still go to the grocery store?
A little bit of both. I tried to get it delivered, and then it's been more challenging than it was last year to get times to get the food delivered. So sometimes I'm stuck going.
Mm-hmm.
What are you
I'm a
doing?
lady of leisure, and I prefer to go to the market
Yeah.
myself. I love to cook, and so I want to make sure I'm getting good cuts and good produce. But I get paper towels and toilet paper delivered. Does that count?
I actually do the shopping in our house. My wife, after like having like the boys had that weird kind of like meat made her like nauseous, like just the smell of it. So even going to the grocery store, she was like, yeah, I'm out. And so she never, and I actually enjoy it because I like to see all the stuff. And same thing with you, Kyle. Like I love to cook and know what I'm getting. But because we get so busy during the fall season, like with conferences and all this stuff, she will do shipped. And it is a little crazy, because what happens is you order, like you just get the same stuff. It's like, yeah, do you want the same crap you had last week? And you're like, yeah, I'll throw away the same stuff I had last week again. The moldy bread, the old turkey, the whatever. It's like, and then we had our youngest Cooper went off to college, so now it's just her and I. And I think like we'll end up like just eating out like 95% of the time. We'll no longer cook. It's like we get home and she's like, what do you want to do? And it's like, oh, let's just walk down to the brewery or let's go to here or whatever. And it's just like so much easier than
You
actually
can't
having
beat
to cook.
convenience. I mean, whether you're getting your groceries delivered or whether you can walk down to get a decent meal, I mean, convenience is king or queen.
Yeah. or queen,
Queen.
whatever your preference. By the way, we're recording this on September 7th, Global TA Day today.
Yes.
Happy Global TA Day to you guys.
Happy Global TA Day.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It is a very meaningful moment in the year, I think, to recognize the contributions of all of the recruiters and TA professionals out
Mhm.
there. But I didn't get shit from anybody for it. Like, Timmy, you're the only one that said happy TA Day. I mean, where's my
we
gift? Where's
we
TA?
actually we actually do a celebration with our team. So we have like, like it's all about it's supposed to actually was set up originally like to be like a day of like development and recognition and all this stuff. So we actually have like a lunch and learn, and we're bringing in pizza, and we have like an ice cream social later. And then they have like all like my team has put together like all these kind of like little like kind of like recruiter enabled kind of like contest. So like the first person to interview somebody this morning and get a like a send out to a hiring manager like won a prize, and like they have
That's
all these
cool.
yeah, they have all this kind of stuff like that. And so we have fun with it, but it is kind of it's interesting to me when because it's this was started probably about 5 years ago, and it got pretty big virtually during like the, during the pandemic, and then to try to get people to come back in person and start to do some of this stuff and get like some legs under it, I think is always interesting to see the different celebrations. But Kyle, like you called me out on a post that I did on LinkedIn today, and I did it partly in because I'm thinking like the hustle of a recruiter, the hustle of a great recruiter, and the whole quiet quitting thing. And I kind of called the quiet quitting. I'm like, hey, keep quiet quitting. Like I want you to quiet quit, because when you're quiet quitting, I'm beating your ass, and I'm going to get promoted, and I'm going to, one day you're going to work for me. And by the way, I'm going to know you're quiet quitting, and then I'm going to fire you. It was complete hustle porn on LinkedIn, and I hate like all that crap on LinkedIn. So I kind of like hated my own self for doing
Tim,
it, but I
I
did
haven't
it
even
anyway.
started to call you out. I told you I was about to call you out. Just wait till I have a 3.5 hour train ride down to New York this afternoon, and I am going to rip you to shreds, my friend.
I don't
I will
even know
just,
what you're. I haven't read it
I'll
yet.
just take it. I'll
I
just
read
take it down. So I don't care. Like whatever you rip me.
You will, you coward. I better screenshot it right now.
Don't take it down till I read it. I want to read it.
No, it's just really it's kind of short. No, if you rip me like really good, I'll leave it up just because I like that. I think that's it's equal opportunity, right? If I'm gonna rip on nobody in particular, you should
Absolutely.
rip on me specifically.
Yeah, you like run away and hide. Great.
Okay, so Kyle, first time on HR Famous. Here's how we do. We usually pick out a couple things that are in the news, and then we opinionate on them. And one of our favorite go-tos is the Business Insider, because they are the worst journalist in the entire world. But they also have some good stuff. Like I know I read this article about this guy who was like transforming General Motors and TA one time back about 2 years ago. That was a good one. Otherwise, the rest of them are kind of crap. No.
But the pictures, we have to talk about the pictures because Business Insider picks out these stock photos that you just can't even believe still exist out there, and that's what they use. I wish Jessica was here because she's so funny with the pictures. Like her comments just crack me up.
The guy with the box. First off, the guy with the box, like, so here's the article. Watch your back. Here are the 4 kinds of employees most likely to get laid off in the current downturn. One, we could argue, do we really have a downturn with 11.5 million open jobs and 3.5% unemployment? I digress. They're very quick to like want to like the sky is falling. Like that's clickbaitish. But
Yeah.
the guy there's a picture of a guy with a plant in the box. There's no way this dude has a plant on in his back. And all those pictures, like there's no way. That's so bad. And no, and we don't do boxes anymore. Like when you lay somebody off, you don't like show up with a box.
No,
Like that's
there's no box.
like a 1970s bad like sitcom kind of thing when you lay somebody off. Anyways, I know we want to get right to the four ones. So the first one is recent hires. Simple kind of economic, first in, first out, FIFO, for our bachelor's degrees. That makes sense, right? Like that. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And I'll ask you guys, like, if you agree, like the first in, first out theory, about being laid off. So those who are recently hired, you're going to be the first ones to get shit canned when the downturn happens. Kyle, you're a guest. We'll start with you. Agree, disagree?
I mean, it already is happening, right? People are being impacted,
Well,
right?
by the way, every year people are laid off, and all the data this year shows that the layoffs are just not even yet above average, right? So it's
Yeah.
still an average year
So
of
yeah, I mean,
layoffs.
I think that's exactly. I mean, here you like. I'm glad you put your analyst hat on for that one because you do need to have context. What people love to do is sensationalize.
Yeah,
And look, I mean, people are being impacted. People are losing their jobs. I think the thing that was interesting was within the data set that they were analyzing, it was looking at who was being adversely impacted. And that's where the story is. It's not just the fact that there are layoffs happening. It's not just the fact that there are some market corrections, which, by the way, needed to happen.
yeah.
And I think that it will continue to happen. It is more so who was being impacted. And I mean, I don't want to jump all the way to the end, but I thought it was the two role types that were being impacted that were the most interesting. I'll pause
No,
there.
no, we'll
Yeah,
definitely spend
same,
some. We'll
same.
definitely spend some time there. I would think I've been a part of a lot of layoffs from the HR perspective, right? Where we're having to get the list together and the communications and all that bad kind of juju that we get with the HR world. Um, and never did we look at layoffs as a first in, first out. It was always performance
Mm,
related.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, you're a leader. You have 20 people on your team. We're going to need you to cut two heads. You tell us. And then as they would give us names, you would kind of dig in right to the adverse impact side or what, like what, why are you really laying off two women, or whatever it might be, right? We would kind of dig in a little bit, but for the most part, people would always like, these are my two lowest performers, and here's kind of what it is. The number two they had was high earners. Madeline, agree, disagree? High earners being adversely impacted on layoffs.
Yeah, I think for a lot of organizations, I think this is, where they look. A lot of smaller companies, it's, I think they're easy decision, and it kind of avoids any blowback from employees when you're looking at just what people make.
Yeah.
Um, I think some of this is interesting too, because I think, not to talk about skills, I love the skills conversation, but if companies are reskilling and upskilling, this impacts both of these because you're not going to necessarily get rid of first in
Yeah.
at your workforce because you're reskilling. You need different skill sets. So these are the people actually
Exactly.
you're going to keep. And then I think it also impacts this high earners too, because again, different skill sets. All these companies are pivoting to be tech companies. That requires a very different comp structure
There's
than
a there's a
it
chart
was.
that every CEO asks for when layoffs are being considered, and it's an XY, and it's give me the highest paid,
Yeah,
and then give me performance across the continuum.
yeah.
And so, if you're a highly paid, underperforming person, you are on that hit list for sure.
so you know
And
what's
so,
interesting?
but,
Can
but
I ask
usually,
though? Like,
our highest paid are higher performing. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
in a lot of
Right, right, right,
organizations.
yeah, but
right.
looking at like the number of recent joiners who are being adversely impacted, they haven't necessarily had an opportunity to perform yet. Like,
Oh, for
and
sure.
I mean, especially if, to Madeline's point, a lot of companies are pivoting to be more technology enabled companies or what have you. A lot of these recent joiners are new roles, either new headcount or newly
Yep.
created functions. And this is what worries me is we have a tendency to overcorrect, and if we're going to say, you know what, never mind, let's pause this strategic project which was going to bring our operation into the 21st century and just go back to the established business. It's like, okay, great. And so, there's there's no perfect way to do it, but
What does it really take to lead with impact in today's ever evolving world? Welcome to Inside the C Suite, the podcast where influence, energy, innovation, and empathy converge. Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt, your host. Join me as I sit down with the boldest voices in leadership, visionaries who are not just making decisions, but making a difference. In every episode, we explore the heart of leadership. How do high performing leaders harness their energy? How do they lead with empathy without losing their edge? How do they turn disruption into innovation and pressure into purpose? You'll hear unfiltered stories of adversity, resilience, and the raw moments that shaped true influence. This isn't about perfection. It's about presence, passion, and the energetic exchange that fuels transformation. Inside the C-suite is your invitation to lead from a deeper place with intention, connection, and courage. If you're ready to go beyond the surface and unlock what really moves leaders to action, hit subscribe and step inside. You can find us wherever you get your podcast fix. Inside the C-suite, well, we're an energetic exchange. Let's lead with influence, live with energy, and create with empathy.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
number-
a little frustrated having just come out of like a place where we were pivoting hard to technology,
Yeah.
like that's one thing that where it's like the two roles that you see being most heavily impacted. Those were two of the most strategic types of roles that we were hiring for.
Sure.
And I can see without having I took this summer off. I wasn't at GM. I don't know that GM has done any layoffs, but I can see where organizations like General Motors, who really did have the best intentions and had really aggressive growth plans, and they were investing in the people to make it happen, then have this moment of uncertainty, and they decide to de-risk those investments and say, you know what, let's scale this way back. We were being very bold, making announcements to the market that we're hiring 13,000 software developers. That wasn't GM. I'm just making
Yeah.
And then laying off the 6,000 software engineers that we hired. It's an
But no, like Ford actually had an announcement this summer that they did a layoff, and it was specifically they talked about it. They're like, hey, we're transitioning to making EVs from combustion engine. We don't need a lot of these skill sets that we had previously. We at the same time, whereas we're laying off 7,000 or 8,000 or whatever that number was, we're still hiring thousands and thousands of other skill sets that we need. And like Madeline, like we talk about that reskilling side, there's some of that is just, you know what, like organizations aren't going to be able to reskill mechanical engineer into a software engineer kind of thing, right? Or the time or effort or energy and like investment that it would take is just too much, right? So that there's definitely a real piece around that. And to me, that's when we talk about, Kyle, about having, like, there's layoffs happening every year, even right now where it's the lowest kind of unemployment. Companies are still laying off, which is people going, oh, here it comes. Here's the next recession. Well, even like, go back to 2018, 2017, when the world was like, oh, everything is right. There's plenty of layoffs happening during those times because business is shifting constantly.
Right. Businesses are overvalued or they failed to pivot in at a critical juncture, or, there are myriad reasons why we have layoffs right now. I feel like I think there might be a balance. There is some there's some reactionism. Is that a word? There's some reaction.
Yeah. To the market, correct. Right. You have stakeholders, you have like shareholders going like, hey, wait a minute. We're losing our asses. You better do something. In our response is
there are companies that maybe were not quite at level of performance that also are sliding in and saying, oh, it's the downturn. And I think the same thing happened during COVID, by the way. I don't know about where y'all live, but here on the South Shore of Boston, there were many restaurants that were barely holding on anyway, and then struggled to pivot to a takeout. I mean, it's like people were actually probably ordering more food than, because they couldn't go out. And restaurants still closed because they couldn't adapt to the new market environment. But guess what? We blamed Grandpa Joe for shutting down the government. So.
All right. Number 3.
Sorry.
Millennials. It's a millennial bloodbath, as it's titled here at Business Insider. So there is a perspective here of that. So if you take a look at the overall share of employees, and again, this is looking at, the data sample of layoffs since March, 80% roughly of all employees are going to be millennial. About 17% are Gen X. About 2% are going to be Gen Z. About 2% are going to be baby boom. So of course, you're going to have way more millennial layoffs than the rest. They're saying, though, as a share of layoffs, they're being impacted by a lot more than Gen Xers, which my response is, Well, for sure, because Gen Xers fucking work. And Kyle, yeah,
Kyle does
but
not
people
like
just
that.
Wow.
yeah,
Tim and
Scared.
I
because
are
Gen
Gen Xers.
Xers show up and
Yeah.
work and do the extra. We're not quiet quitting.
Damn right. I will say this though, millennials are 40 years old. Like we're still writing these
Yes,
articles
like
like
they're
we're talking
18.
about
Yeah.
25-year-old right out of college. These are, these are some of the most successful business owners. These are the high earners. They fall into that number 2 category, Tim. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that this word millennial like screams youth, and it's not where we're
Kyle
at
still,
right now.
Kyle still thinks he's 25.
I mean,
Kyle
actually,
looks 25.
the
What does
hints
that
just
say?
keep coming. Madeline, I am not 40 years old, okay? How dare you?
You're the young. You're Gen Z. You're Gen Z, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yes.
you're the baby millennial,
I'm
where
Gen Y,
Jessica is a
okay? I'm
geriatric
Generation Y.
millennial.
Well, look, I mean, I don't want to like throw a pity party, but guess who was also heavily impacted by the last recession? Millennials, and I mean, everybody was, but we were just coming out of college. We had just taken on tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, and then suddenly there were no job prospects because guess what? Back then they were laying off everybody, not just recruiters
For
and
sure.
but I mean, I think that we have had from the economic cycles of the last 15, 20 years, it continues to set us up to struggle to fight, which is, I think, is why many more millennials tried to take advantage of the Great Resignation because they were trying to leapfrog and get back ahead and had to take risk to do it. Was it a little bit of blind risk or blind calculation? Yeah, I think that some people were just running to make more money. And to your point, I think that we are not very patient with less than ideal work environments. But that's also because we grew up with our parents who were not really very happy and were working.
Yeah, we're millennials.
I'm trying to be so
This could be a
respectful.
whole podcast.
I
By the
know.
way. Why did we even bother with any other topic? This could be the whole podcast.
Gosh, Tim, it must be so hard to have kids who hate you.
Oh God! By the way, I have a great story about that. I don't know if I told this on the pod yet. It's actually hurtful. So my oldest was a baseball player. I coached him for years and years and years, and now we play. We golf together on a league. And the other week we were sitting there at a tee box with we're golfing against 2 other guys on the league, right, team. And one of the guys was talking about coaching his son in baseball, like a younger, like a 10, 12-year-old kid, right? And Keaton flat out looks at the guy and goes, "I didn't get good until my dad stopped coaching me."
Ooh.
Like just like literally like just right into the heart. Like I'm like, dude, I know I'm not the best coach in the world, but man, I put in like my blood, sweat, and tears for you, brother. Like that's how. Okay, all right, I got it. So Kyle, you're right. My kids hate me. Thank you.
Too
Well,
soon. That is
Now
painful.
I
I
can
see
talk
that
about
with some of the
therapy.
kids. Yeah, I mean, I do see that, like the dynamic with father and son, and there's always like the little chit chat on the bench of like maybe dad shouldn't be coaching him right now. It's hard though. It's coaching so much work. I mean, it's such a commitment. You're not getting paid. Yeah, he'll change this in 10 years. He's going to say it was the best
and
time.
not everybody wants to be coached, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Everyone's waiting on number 4. So here, Kyle, you've been talking about this, kind of the vulnerable jobs versus safe jobs. We could argue this list for all time. Recruiters, number 1. Customer success specialist, number 2. Software engineer, 3. Data science, 4. UX designer, 5. Marketing, 6. I'm like, I don't agree with this at all. Now, part of this is, again, going back from the beginning of the year to March, the tech industry got hit hard with layoffs, right? So this is going to be a little bit kind of jammed in that world because we all know nobody can find software engineer, data science, UX designers,
Yeah.
recruiters. There was more jobs at some point in like February, March than software engineers openings. And so it's a little weird, but we also had this whole dynamic happen in Q1 and probably starting back in 2021 where recruiters were making stupid money. Like people were paying recruiters way too much So again, it goes back to the high earner, low performance kind of thing. But then we get down to like the billing specialist, accountant, corporate trainers, like a safe job. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like I've been in the layoff room. Corporate trainers were the first to go because you weren't paying any money training. If you're laying people off, you're not training. Like now, again, Madeline, to your point, maybe with the reskilling world, like that is like an investment we keep. I don't know. Like, what's your guys' take on this list? Because I was shocked by like that.
So random. I felt like the list was so random, first of all. I was very surprised. I mean, starting with recruiters, because recruiters are taking on more work than ever before, too. So it's recruiters are doing internal mobility, they're doing workforce planning, they're doing contingent workforce. Regardless of like where we're at with the economy, all of these things are important. And if recruiters are doing this work, they're going to still have to be doing that work. So that was super surprising. The UX designer was very surprising. I mean, we're definitely going to see some jobs at some companies
For sure.
being at risk. But I would think it would be something like the chief happiness officer when you already have a chief people officer over a recruiter.
Recruiter is a traditional kind of layoff target when there's layoffs, right? Because if you're not going to be hiring, then you lay off your recruiters. But like we said, a lot of these layoffs are about a shift in work or a shift in
Right.
the business strategy where you're still having to hire. In fact, you might have to hire the most, important people for the future of your company. So the last thing you want to do is just jet out a bunch of recruiters. And Kyle, to your point, like in the big enterprise world, the GMs, the Fords of the world, that was a very typical kind of knee-jerk response too. It was like, oh, we're going to ramp up and we're doing all this strategy and we're going to hire. And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, well, we didn't see, we're 12 months into this and we're not seeing like massive profits. So we're just going to like completely about face and like lay off recruiters now,
Right. Do you think that,
like that? Sorry, Madeline.
No, go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you, because this is like making my blood boil. Do you know how burnt out recruiting TA professionals are?
Yeah.
Do you know how just like even the ones who stayed, who didn't move, were burning out, and seeing their peers run off and do something, and then like, I mean, it is just so demoralizing at a point when morale in TA is already really low. I really worry about the implications that this has. I think this will drive people out of the profession because they're like, you know what? I'm tired of being constantly on the chopping block, especially because Madeline's right. We are working, well, not we, but like talent acquisition professionals are working hard. They're doing more now than they ever have before. They're not just managing requisitions. They're managing rogue hiring managers who think that they can do their job better than them. They're managing candidates who don't have any understanding of just how hard it is to get through the workflow of open a rec to close a rec. Like it is just, it's too much. And to see this role at the top of this list, I wish I could say I was surprised. Instead, I'm just really sad because it's just, people have to start fucking around with recruiters. Sorry, I hope I can say that on the show.
You can. We allow it. Just one, though. You can only drop one.
Got it.
Kyle, like I was talking to a TA leader the other day, and they were like, and they actually said this, and I had to kind of like bring them back to reality because they were like, well, my team average rec load is like 40 to 60. And to me, historically, that's doable. And I'm like, whoa. One, even if you go back into 2018, 2017, 40 to 60 was a lot. And that's when we had good candidate flow. We have no candidate flow now. And you're saying that that's doable. It's not. You're not recruiting at 40 to 60 recs. You're administering a process and you're surviving on a day-to-day basis. But when we have TA leaders that truly believe that, or we have executives that are pushing them above, that realm to think that that's doable, and it's just not. It's not sustainable. That burnout factor, I think, is gigantic.
It is, and that's just what's hard.
Do you think that companies also realize, like 2020, companies did a lot of layoffs, a lot of recruiters lost their jobs. Like we saw all these posts, like people were creating job boards for recruiters helping recruiters. And then 2021, all these companies were screwed because they didn't have any recruiters. They were like freaking out. And I feel like that's still so raw for a lot of companies that I think, companies are going to feel like they need to be a little bit more prepared. Like we can't get rid of everyone because what if this changes next year and we're on this crazy hiring and people are still hiring like crazy. So that's the other piece of it.
That is the other piece of it, but it does feel yo-yo-ish, right, Matt? I think,
Yeah.
like when you think like, oh, we just laid all these recruiters off, and then we went through this crazy boom of hiring recruiters, and recruiters had so much power, and then to so quickly be back to saying you're the
Overnight.
most vulnerable, and you're just like, wait a minute, I don't even feel like I'm settled yet into like I was feeling good about myself and I was valued, and you're like, nope, you suck, get out of here.
You're the first out. You're the number one on this list in this article.
Well,
you know what was surprising to me about this article is, Tim, I think you're going to like this piece. There's nothing on here about people that come to work or work more hours. Like there was nothing that, is saying if you're only working half a day, if you're only coming in half a day, if you're doing like 10 to 4 every day, you're going to be the first to go. Because I think that does definitely happen. Like I think there's that
I would have
x-axis, but I also think there's like this person's working like 3 hours a day.
I would have expected, like, yeah, because that would be a classic Business Insider move too, to be like, hey, the number 5 most vulnerable is remote workers, right? Because they know they'll get the reaction. Yeah. Because to me, remote workers are like the CrossFit of employees. Like if you work remote, that's all you do is talk about working remote. If you do CrossFit, you just talk about CrossFit.
Tim, you know that Madeline and I are both remote workers, so
and we're big CrossFit.
And you're big CrossFitters. Huge. I can tell that you guys are giant CrossFitters. No, to me, but that's just kind of the inside joke. So the remote worker thing wasn't on here, and you would think like, oh, if they can't see you, they're going to fire you. But maybe that's a positive thing. Maybe we've gotten to that point, Madeline, where now like so many people are working remote, so many people are working hybrid that it's accepted to saying, hey, we actually found ways to actually measure performance, and your ass in your seat isn't going to be a measure of performance,
Right. Right.
Come on, Kyle, give us opinions. That's
well, just how, I mean, let's look at the software engineer role too. I mean, that was like, so software engineers, I'm astounded to see that is on here. And because of how many software engineers people have been fighting tooth and nail to try to hire, and especially into organizations where that role was not as commonplace. To see, that's where I'm thinking about like companies saying, you know what, let's actually not go that aggressive into our future state. Let's hit a pause on that and scale that back. Where is the sense in all of this? If we didn't actually need the thousands of software engineers that we were getting approval for, like where was the calculation within the HR organization, within the business leadership to say this is the number we need to get to where we're going? Is this all just completely random guesstimates?
Yes, the workforce planning thing seems
like it is. Like I don't think there's much workforce planning going on, and I think that is a symptom, or this is a symptom.
It's a symptom of the layoff
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because I saw that on the tech side, Kyle. Like when we took a look at a lot of the tech hiring going on since that 2020 and the pandemic hit. Yeah. It literally was just like carte blanche. Like you just go hire and keep hiring and don't stop hiring. And you're like, well, where's that workforce plan around that? Just hire as many as you want. We don't even care where they're at. Just get them in here and pay them whatever it takes. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, I have 150 software engineers that are working for me, and I've only met 3 of them. I have no idea where they are or what they're working on. And you're like, uh-oh, now we have a problem.
Well, and you know what? It happens. It's like, I don't know. They hired me. Like I'm waiting. I've got 6 weeks of onboarding. I would really like to be writing some code. So instead of just doing my side gig thing, I honestly, there is reactionism here. There is, which I'm just claiming as a word. Reactionism is a word, but I also think this is bad HR.
It is, no, you're right. I agree. Right. Again, in any HR plan, right? It's obviously some executive have to sign off on it, but it seems like the lack of workforce planning, which again might be one of the most difficult things to do for an organization, because it is at the end of the day a big giant guesstimate based on data. two of the things that we know we're bad at in HR is data and technology. And
Yeah,
so
actually
if you're
just
not,
a slight tweak to that. It's not based on data, it's based on inputs. And you
yes, yes,
hope
yes,
that
yes.
one of those inputs is trustworthy, good data. But I think, and this is where I will throw HR a bone, I think a lot of those inputs are competing and changing priorities from the executives.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
we're just responding to their latest ask. It's
Yep.
like constant firefight. So I will give HR that, but God, we got to figure this out because we're not just talking about like numbers. We're talking about people's lives. Let me share this little personal anecdote. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this. My older brother is in tech sales, and he had taken a new job during COVID, not just as a great resignation. It was supposed to be a good opportunity. And look, we all work in tech. What happened was they hired too expensive of a sales leadership team. The revenue wasn't there yet, so they laid them off. It happens. No big deal.
Yep.
So he spent some time, took some time off, and he spent like a month trying to get into another sales leadership job, and it was taking a little while to find a fit. He landed a role, and he was told that they were doing a Series D or E raise or something. And he started in a month into his job. They had sold the IP and not the company and laid everyone off except for a few
Yeah.
engineers.
Oh,
And like this is not just balance sheets we're talking about.
no.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're screwing with someone's life, right?
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
in like a whole
Yeah.
year, my brother's worked like 3 months, and he's
Yeah.
a very effective sales leader. He's actually landed an excellent job because he spent like the next 3 weeks finding every person on his team a new job, which is really
Yeah.
cool. But glad he had enough money in savings to do that.
Oh, yeah. Most people don't, right?
Most
Yeah.
people don't. They have like $1,000 in savings. But anyway,
Yeah.
just getting on my high horse here.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's
Hey,
really
I know Madeline's got to get out of here, so we will end with this real quick. I'll get this up on Monday, so that's right before HR Tech. So a little preview. What are you guys looking forward out in Vegas?
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing some new tech companies. There's a couple I've done briefings with that I'm like really excited about, and I'm excited to see both of you and
Yeah.
catch up with all our friends. Can I just say that reactionism is a word? It's the quality or state of being reactionary.
You know what?
Yes.
Get it, girl. She knows a few things. Thanks, partner.
Kyle, HR
Yeah,
Tech.
HR Tech, I really want to get a pulse. When we went to HR Tech last year, it was our first time back in person, and it was definitely like the core group, mostly vendors, and then the influencer crowd. I'm really curious to see how many practitioners and buyers are there. A lot
Yeah.
of them are under travel restrictions, so I think that's going to be up in the air. Definitely interested to see what innovation is out there because we all know there is more VC than there is revenue. And I want to know what kind of ideas are rising to the top.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next week. Can't wait to do that. And for everybody else, this is another episode of HR Famous. We are out.